following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Some may argue that there's never too much of a good thing, and those who believe that would probably have to defend that belief today. The 24 hours of Daytona is now over and done in iRacing and the real world, meaning it's filled the schedule of many series recently. But will its constant presence for the last few weeks mean drivers will be strong with familiarity or burnt out and prone to mistakes? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Taylor, there is a chance that some of our racing audience has missed out on nearly a month's worth of Daytona, so just in case, fill us in on the road course.
Of course, and welcome everyone to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Located not too far from my home city of Edgewater of Daytona Beach, Florida, this 12-turn, 3.5-mile, 5.7-kilometer track is home to one of the biggest sports car races that we know, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Racing started here in 1959, of course, when the track was built by Big Bill France Sr., and sports car racing made its debut here in the 1960s, with Dan Gurney winning the first major sports car race here in, of course, the Continental 3 Hours. To give you, the fan, to see what it is like to take on this historic and amazing track, let's go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Daytona. Right away, you've got the difficult braking for turn 1 to tackle. The transition off of the banking can often unsettle the car, plus you're turning and braking most of the way into the corner. Despite all this, it's still one of the most popular places to pass on the lap. As we weave through the little chicane, bring the car back to the left and you'll be braking for the International Horseshoe. You might sometimes see passes into here when the opportunity presents itself. There's a little access road off to the left of the exit too, which because it's paved, it's all fair game to use when getting the power down. We'll drift it back across, and in these GTE cars, the kink is easily flat out. But the best racing line is to hug the car to the left side to give yourself a nice entry into the Western Horseshoe. The tricky thing here is the way the corner tightens in the middle. It makes hitting the apex a bit of a pain. Turn 6, which will be the last one of the infield section, is probably one of the most important of the lap. Failing to get a good exit here will cost you a bunch of time on the oval portion. Plus, you'll want to protect yourself from attack by preventing the car behind you from getting as much of a slipstream as possible. Jumping ahead to the bus stop, it's going to be tempting to make an overtake into here, but any side-by-side racing is terribly risky and often doesn't end well. Once again, because we'll be flat out for a while, getting on the throttle smoothly and early will pay big dividends. And just like before, draft battles are probably going to be playing out all day. But as we bring it to the line at the Tri-Oval, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Daytona. You see a lap around Daytona. We're going to see a number of them here just a few more times before we're done with Daytona. And we're not done yet with our sponsor callouts. Of course, this race once again brought to you by the Simulation Motorsports Association. SIMSA is a sim racing platform created by experienced racers. Established in 2015, the association is bringing together organizations and communities to further promote sim racing globally. Concentrating on all sims worldwide, they offer a focused opportunity for sim races to compete with each other. They also provide consultancy services to this growing esports world. SIMSA offers solutions for racing simulator requirements, custom-built simulator parts, complete customization, and upgrading of existing simulators. You can find them at simsa.net. Big thank you to the SIMSA folks for sponsoring PRL's Tuesday series for the second season in a row. This season, though, very different in the points from what we saw last time around. The story has been the same since the very start. Karl Modhoff, 4 wins out of 4 races. It seems no one can stop him. But Christian Eisler, because of his consistency, finds himself jumping back up the order. 2 positions there in the second place, but you can see 50 points behind. Now, Simon Avital has been doing something similar. The Canadian basically has been running pretty consistent and is also only 4 points behind Eisler. Flores, with his second podium of the season, bumps himself up 6 positions. And then, of course, there you see Jean-Marc Tremblay has been on a good stream of runs to find himself within the top 5 on the driver's points as well. They keep track of a team's championship here on the PRL, so let's go to Taylor for that.
Of course, and at the top of the leaderboard for the team's championship is Jean-Marc Tremblay, as well as Jorge Flores with the Speedworks Racing Team with 176 points. 16 points back is the Rigmatech Ether Sim Sport Team with Griffith and Avital. They're only 16 points and closing. And then we can't forget about the Bushfink drivers of Eisler and Ott. Those drivers, even though having an up-and-down season, only 17 points behind the leader. One who took a major hit is the Montini brothers recently, losing 3 spots of the SDS Racing Team. And then rounding out your top 5, 52 points back, is the Andes Team Puma with Kita and Valenzuela.
So, taking a look at the race details of what we've got in store today, we are in round 5 here. Only 8 rounds this season. Usually they do about 10 for this series, but they've taken a short winter season just to give the drivers a little more time off over the holidays. Now, you can see they do have drop points. Now, that usually helps drivers in their championships hopes, but in this case, it helps Karl Modhoff a whole lot better than everybody else around him because, well, his drop week right now is a win, and it'll stay that way until he doesn't win one. There's 3 cars that they'll be able to race here today, the Porsche 911, the Ferrari 488, and the Ford GT. This is a 60-minute race that they're running today. This is their endurance one that they are doing, but it is still one pit stop that you can expect out there. They have restricted the fuel compared to what these real GTE cars can do. So that means that's why you have that one pit stop during a 60-minute race. Now, these setups are open just like the real cars. You can do anything that you can tweak on the real thing here in the simulator. They do have an incident cap of 30 incidents over that, and you are going to be disqualified. And as always, there is no spare car in this series to help save you. Taylor, we usually talk about what could come in handy in terms of trying to win here in the PRL series, but it seems like lately the keys to winning is being Karl Modhoff. But other than that, how can a driver win today?
Well, of course, the 2 major things is involving making sure you hit your marks in 2 of the most difficult corners here at Daytona. Turn 1, which has always caused many problems, even for the most professional of motorsports drivers. So drivers will have to make sure that they ease their way into turn 1, make sure they find their braking points, as well as hitting the apex as best they can. As well as the transition corner, turn 6, to get you back up onto the banking of NASCAR 1 and 2. It is very easy to lose the car through that section, so you have to make sure that you have the setup perfect in order not to lose control of that car. And of course, most importantly, is this track is nothing but flat out pretty much, as you're basically doing a full overlap with a little bit of going into the infield of the track. So making sure that you utilize the draft, having a good arrows package is very important with these cars. So Joe, this is going to be quite a fast-paced but yet exciting race here at Daytona. I mean, everyone might be tired of racing at Daytona, but I'm sure looking forward to calling this race here tonight.
What always puts on a good show, that's for sure. If you like shows like this, well, we encourage you to subscribe here to the iRacing Esports Network, where we're hosted today on the Global Sim Racing channel. All you have to do that is click the big red button there you see on the page that says subscribe, and then you can follow all the great racing here on iRacing that the IESN has to offer, and that includes the World Championship Series. Looking at the cars out on track, we'll update you in a little bit here on qualifying, because it is certainly looking fascinating with very little time left to go. But first, I want to tell you that if you're in a business where you have to keep track of the condition of a number of vehicles, whether it be rental cars, limousines, construction vehicles, or many other type of vehicles, you've got a lot to stay on top of. For people like you, Inspect-A-Ride is the fastest way to conduct your vehicle inspections and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life all from your iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. You can find out more at inspectoride.com/iRacing, where you can even download a free trial to find out if an Inspect-A-Ride is right for you. So check it out. Once again, the address is inspectoride.com/iRacing. So about that qualifying, Mike Griffith on the pole. We've been touting his great pace lately, and he's had some podiums. He's been showing himself to be a front runner with top fives. But this is the first time I'd say we've seen him on the pole. It's Flores following him, and then you eventually get to the man who's been dominating here today, Taylor, or here this season, Taylor, and that is Karl Modoff.
Karl Modoff and not having a strong run. I mean, he's still qualified in third position currently at the moment, but during practice we saw him struggling just a little bit. But Mike Griffith, wow, what a great season he's had so far. This could be a good opportunity for him to stake his claim here in the PRL GTE series.
Even a little bit of cloud cover here late in qualifying. That could affect the track temperatures, which seem to have dipped slightly down to 80 degrees. Currently, the air temperature, though, sits at 74 degrees. So, nice day out here for the fans, the virtual fans, to watch some racing. Not too much of a breeze out there, just 9 miles per hour, though, as is typical with Florida, it's a little bit humid out there, 72% humidity. But regardless, it's that track temperature the drivers are going to want to pay attention to, because we could see some fast laps out there in these last few stages. Unless the temperature comes back out, this could be Karl's moment to try and bump himself up further. Down Justin Hall, who we're looking at in 18th, getting ready to finish his lap. 142.4 was his fastest to put on the board, and it was his first time, but this one will not count. He must have had it off track somewhere around there. Taylor?
Yeah, looking at his time, he might have messed up a little bit somewhere on track or had an off. He's trying his best as we now look at Cristobal Valenzuela. He's coming to the line to complete his first lap. As he comes to the line, a 141.8. That puts him up to 13th position, bumping Alex Cofford and Michael Derby down. So doing a great job, as Corey Carrick also must have had it off somewhere on the track. So he's going to try to complete another lap with about a minute 45 left on the timer.
Going to watch Lee Lucas's view. Had a great race with the top 10 last time, and currently sitting in 11th. He has a chance to start from that top 10 if he could just go a little faster. He does, and goes to 9th with a 141.5 and less than half a second off of our leader. It is very, very tight up at the top of the field.
Yeah, the top 10, or pretty much the top 9, really separated by less than half a second. I tell you what, this is going to be quite the competitive race in the top 9, as we're now on board with Mike Griffith. As we see right behind him, I believe that's Simon Avital closing in. He's going to utilize a little bit of the slipstream to help build him a space. No, he's going to come down to turn 1 as Mike Griffith now pulls off, thinking he feels comfortable with that lap time, as Simon Avital is going to try to beat Mike Griffith with about less than a minute left on that clock.
The thing is, though, I think Avital used the slipstream as we watched Zube put another lap in. I think Avital used that slipstream to bump himself up to second, because it was Flores just a bit ago, and that is a stonking lap from the number 23 car, who I believe finished 4th last round. continues to improve. We watch Cofford on board him as he crosses the line, and that's a slow lap for him, so he'll stay in 15th for the moment.
Yeah, Avatal has been doing real good these past 2 races here as we complete the 2 Florida rounds back-to-back. As Corey Clark now comes to the line. Now let's see if he improves. I believe he does not with a 142, so he has to try again as we go to Lucio Vargas now. He's going to come to the line. This is not going to be a good lap. It's about 7 minutes, so he must have had a major off somewhere on the track.
Yeah, I think that was an out lap, and that's going to be it for him, actually, as the checkered flag just came out. So who's going to complete their lap? Aaron Thacker. Ooh, he's not sitting good considering his typical pace. He's 17th with a 142.1 being his fastest. Next time across, a 42 flat is only good enough for 15th. Oh, I know Thacker can do better than that. Avatal is going to abandon his lap, starting second. I can kind of understand why. Very little he can do better than that. Same thing for James LeBlanc. He's done, but he's starting down in 20th. He's got a ways to climb. Now, what about Christian Eisler, who has not been able to really catch the leaders, and he's not going to catch them in qualifying because he's only 6th, and he abandons his final lap as well, Taylor. A lot of drivers not seeming confident here.
Probably because they're not having that slipstream that they need to help gain that extra 10th. Like we saw with Avatar, when he utilized that slipstream on Griffith. It looks like Alexander Coffer's going to try. He has no help right now, and I think he's going to pull it in as well. See, I think he might. Yes, he's going to actually complete his lap as he's coming to the line. I don't think it's going to be any faster. Oh, a 142.04.
Nope, I don't believe that one counted for him, unfortunately. Fernando Bordas did count, but it is not his fastest lap, so it does not improve his time. Corey Clark, the next one across, a 41.8, does not take him higher up. He still stays 13th, despite setting his fastest time so far. And that's going to be everybody out here for qualifying. Our grid is now set for round 5 of the American iRacing Tuesday series. Let's go through your starting order. Mike Griffith, I believe that's his first pole of the season, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check my stats on that. Simon Avatal will round out the front row, and I want to say this is the first time we haven't seen Modoff on the front row. Jorge Flores will start in 3rd, with Modoff next to him all the way down in 4th. Then Leif Peterson, one to keep your eye on as he continues to improve race by race, will start from 5th. He is in front of Christian Eisler, always the bridesmaid in this series in terms of championship, and is currently sitting in that position right now, even in the points. Francisco Montini will be P7 at the drop of the green. Jean-Marc Tremblay starts from 8th. Fernando Borda will be P9, and then Lee Lucas gets to start from the top 10, rounding out our top 10.
Tyler DeZube will start in the 11th position, followed by Jerome Rapion in 12th position. Corey Clark will start in the 13th position. He'll start alongside Cristobal Valenzuela in 14th. Mr. Consistency has got a little bit of work to do tonight. Aaron Thacker will start in 15th position alongside his teammates Alexander Coppert and Michael Derby in 16th and 17th. Rodrigo Munoz will start in the 18th position, followed by Florida native Justin Hall in 19th. And rounding out your top 20 will be the 007 of James LeBlanc.
In 21st, Lucio Vargas will start in the blackjack position, followed by Hugo Galaz in 22nd. Takeshi Kita starting from 23rd, his typical back-of-the-pack starting spot. See if he can climb up the order again. Danny Duchesne, 24th behind him, with Joey Trungell starting 25th. Then it's Jeff Jacobson starting P26, and Luis Morga starting in 27th. That's going to be your starting order here today, and I checked my stats. It is the first pole of the season for Griffith. In fact, the only other driver to grab pole so far in the 4 rounds that we have is a driver who's not here, Corey Ott, who we thought was going to be the main competitor. Certainly fallen by the wayside, unfortunately, as time has gone on. Waiting for the cars to take off from the back stretch. Just a short pace lap here at Daytona, thankfully, and then we get to go racing for a whole 60 minutes out here today. Now, typically we say 1 pit stop, but I have to wonder, this is a bit of a thirsty track, Taylor. Do you think with the limited fuel cells, we'll see some cars maybe cut it a little bit tight? Will we see a few have to make 2 stops?
Most definitely. We will probably see most of these cars probably take to pit stops in order to try and utilize to get them, make sure they come to the finish line with fuel in the tank. Who knows, maybe even see a couple of drivers get fresh tires on a pit stop, maybe on their first stop or their final stop, depending on when they feel the most comfortable in order to try to gain that time and track position later on in the race. So that's going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on here tonight.
All right, coming up on to NASCAR 3, and this is starting to become a pattern with our leader. Mike Griffith is trying to back everybody up off the pace car a little bit. So everybody went single file through the bus stop. It's a good thing he is backing them up, trying to get everybody a chance to get back into the order they need. You can see the roof pace car already coming off the banking of NASCAR 4, and it looks like most of the drivers are now in line behind the leader with a relatively decent-sized field of 27 today. Roof pace car peels into the pit lane. Mike Griffith gets the green flag here in round 5 of the American iRacing Tuesday Series, and it's a bad start for second place Simon Avital. He gets jumped even before they get to the line by Jorge Flores, who finds himself in second place now, and Karl Modoff instead is going to take it the long way around the first corner, but it's only brief. We got a car spinning behind, and I think that might be Eisler. It is, on his roof.
There's more trouble also coming out of turn 1. Tyler DeZube is also having some troubles. He's flipping end over end. He's also having issues with Jean-Marc Tremblay. Cars all over the place as Lucio Vargas tries to overcome the situation. Joe, this was not the start a lot of drivers were looking forward to as we get the replay.
Certainly not. Lucas was involved in that as well. So the drivers continue on. Griffith is still your leader. Flores has managed to get back in a second. Karl Modoff now in third. Avital, after starting on the front row, loses 2 spots. He's down to 4th place as they hit the banking for the first time in anger. Montini finds himself in 5th now. Boy, that was a lot of cars having what looks like probably race-ending damage before they even get partway through the first lap.
Well, one thing I noticed was when they went into turn 1 is that 2 rows of 3 wide going into turn 1 is something you definitely do not do here at Daytona, no matter what type of car you're running here. Prototype, GT or GT3 cars, I mean, that's something you just do not want to risk because that's the outcome that will happen if you decided to take it 3 wide in turn 1.
We watch the pack work its way through the bus stop. You saw a little bit of a break in the mid-pack. We'll get back to that in a second because there's a battle for the lead, and it's Flores looking around the outside of Griffith. They come up to the tri-oval to complete the first lap. How aggressive does Jorge want to be? He could push the issue, and he does not. He brakes early and slips back in line before Modoff can get his nose in. Oh, but a little bit wide off that first apex goes the likes of Mike Griffith. They're now side by side through the S's coming down to the International Horseshoe. He's trying to outbrake him. He's once again going to have to go the long way around, and for the second time in 1 lap, it does not work out for Jorge.
What Jorge's got to worry about Karl Modoff right now. He's putting a lot of pressure. He almost could have slipped through as they made it through the International Horseshoe. Now into the Western Horseshoe they go. It looks like Avital is going to have to close in a gap as well. But Jorge Flores sticks his nose underneath Mike Griffith as they come on board. As we go on board with Flores going into the transition. He gets right on the back bumper of Mike Griffith. Got to be careful not to lose the car up into NASCAR turn 1. Now is the time to utilize the slipstream to close the gap and maybe try to make a pass before they hit the bus stop.
Flores is on a mission right now. 3 attempts in 1 lap. None of them work, granted, but I think he sees the likes of Modoff in his mirrors and is hustling to try and make a pass stick just so that he can build himself a gap. But so far, nobody can penetrate Mike Griffith's barrier. They work their way through the bus stop for the second time now. And this time, it's another good run from Flores, but also from Modoff. Could we see 3 wide potentially? They're coming up to the tri-oval one more time, Taylor. Let's see how this unfolds.
And it looks like Flores is going to take a peek to the outside. Modoff is going to follow suit. He might choose whether to take which line he goes side by side, crossing the line. Mike Griffith still gets the lead as they go into turn one. Who's going to be the bravest among the two? I think Flores might break first. No, he's going to go a little wide. Griffith slides up now. Carl Modoff's closing in. This is going to get a little hectic. It looks like Flores might be able to hold off Griffith as they make the run down to the International Horseshoe. New leader, Jorge Flores.
Wow. Doing it the hard way. Flores going around the outside of turn one, overtakes Mike Griffith. Finally, Modoff was not able to take advantage. He stays back down there in third. They come up to the Western Horseshoe now, and it is a string of cars all riding that draft through the oval portion, staying with our top three because Avital's still with them. Montini, Peterson, and Borda have not lost touch with our podium.
No, Flores is trying his best now to build that gap. That Ferrari is starting to build it a little more, about 2 or 3 car length over Mike Griffith. Simon Avital is a little bit farther back behind Modoff, same distance as well. So he is trying to close that gap. But here comes Mike Griffith back onto the lead, making the run down to the bus stop chicane. Let's see if he's going to try to take a peek. No, going to follow suit. Carl Modoff, though, patiently waiting for that opportunity. See, as we see, it looks like Flores might have cut the course. Have to keep an eye, see if he gets that penalty, but Mike Griffith might have that opportunity to get that lead back.
Don't have to go to it, but we had a bit of an incident farther down the field. Joey Trungale got into it with Galaz, and that sent Takeshi Kita off course in avoidance. So as we take a look at our leaders, hit the tri-oval again, as this is going to be the story all race long. Griffith's going to try and pull the move on Flores that he pulled on him. He's very deep on the brakes, but can he make it stick? He stays wide, has to bring it back to the racing line, and it's going to be door-to-door down to the International Horseshoe for the second time this race. Modoff has got the popcorn position, been watching eagerly, and it doesn't look like Flores can hold him back as Griffith pulls the same move back on him.
What a power move by Mike Griffith. I tell you what, I don't want to be leading this race coming to the white flag. I'd rather be in that second or third position when that time comes, because the leader does not seem like to be the best position at this moment.
I don't know. I'd almost want to be in third as we come back to ninth here with this fight that we're watching between Valenzuela and Derby. I'd almost want to be in third, fourth, or fifth, where you can save fuel and then jump everybody in the pits. The way things are going there, they're just cruising behind our leaders. Meanwhile, up onto the banking, here goes Derby in the HJ Motorsports Ferrari, getting a draft himself on Valenzuela. On to the super stretch. Is this going to be enough for him to make an attempt? And holding the middle of the road, Valenzuela is making him pick the difficult way no matter which way he goes. Now he comes back to the racing line. Derby, brave, down into the bus stop, manages to get himself into ninth, and a cut course for the car behind them. That was Jerome Bertome, who dutifully pulls up high on the banking and now lets cars by.
The lead is getting much more heated right now. They're going to go 3 wide, maybe. It looks like Mike Griffith is going to hold on and maybe get the lead back. But Carl Modoff takes it to the high line now. Into turn one they go. Mike Griffith gets back into the lead. Simon Avital closing in now. He's going to get to the back bumper of Carl Modoff. Leif Peterson as well as Francisco Montini are closing in on this battle. Joe, we got a 6-car battle for the lead here at Daytona.
And it's going to go erupt again. Here comes Flores to the inside of the International Horseshoe, and he manages to pull that off. Now Carl Modoff has thrown his hat into this ring, where it almost seems more like a cage match with the way that these guys are driving so aggressively early on in the race. We still have 52 minutes left to go.
Joe, whether it be on the sim or in the real world, racing at Daytona, you do not treat it like an endurance race. You go at it like a 24-hour sprint race. In this case, a 60-minute sprint race. These drivers are going to give it all they have in order to try to win here at the World Center of Racing.
Oh, and Michael Derby just gained another position because an error from Corey Clark handed it over. Valenzuela tried to go by as they came into turn 6, but couldn't quite make it stick. I think we got a replay here. Let's take a glance at this because I only saw the tail end of it myself. Just a little wide out of the Western Horseshoe there, Taylor.
Yep, it's very easy to go very wide in that section of the track. I've made mistakes there myself on that part of the track, but you got to make sure you hit your braking point and hug the apex. Don't try to go too wide in that corner, otherwise you will lose positions like Corey Clark has.
Let's jump back up to the leaders because Griffith's got another run, and once again he's going to the outside. It looked like Modoff himself could have had a run, but decided to lift well before the tri-oval, as once again we've gone side by side through turn 1. Flores is able to successfully defend. Have we had a single lap where they weren't side by side through turn 1 at this point?
No, but it looks like now Flores made a mistake. A little brake check lock up. Now he's going to give that inside line over to Mike Griffith. They're now going to make the run down the short chute to the kink. You do not want to go side by side in that section of the track. They're going to go single file now as they make the run to the western horseshoe. Looks like Flores is going to be able to hold him off this time, hugging that yellow curbing apex. Carl Modoff's trying to stick his nose, while Simon Avital in the popcorn position for all three drivers looks on patiently, waiting for an opportunity to make a pass.
And we haven't lost any of this top 7. Borda is still back there, along with everybody else that we mentioned before. So this is not breaking up, but it is pulling away from 8th place. Derby's about 6 seconds back currently. Oh, and the lead's going to go side by side down to the bus stop. We haven't really seen this much between our leaders. Griffith having to go the long way around, but he's on the racing line and he's a lot braver on the brakes. He snatches it away from Flores. I'm curious what our lead change count is up to at this point.
I lost count on lap 1, let's just say that. Carl Modoff's got a good run right now. He might try to get by Jorge Flores now as they come out of NASCAR 4. He's going to look to the outside, stick his nose right there. Let's see, it's going to be a drag race down to the start-finish line. I think Flores might be able to hold him up, but let's see what happens going into turn 1. Mike Griffith's got the biggest lead he's had all race, but here comes Flores now hard onto the brakes into turn 1. Carl Modoff trying to come back onto this. Let's see if he's able to get it out of turn 1 into the International Horseshoe.
I think they finally have gone single file for a little bit. Modoff backed off long before the tri-oval, giving way to Flores out of the International Horseshoe. Still, they are in a line. I think we've got a brief moment. We still have a replay, I want to say, of that first huge incident in the first corner. Let's see if we can pull that one up and get a look at it. It was Eisler that was the one that got turned over. Let's see what happened here. Just a little wide. Almost looks like he got shoved from the inside, and then everybody piled into him, and he was essentially a passenger.
Yeah, pretty much. As we go on board, get ready, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a little bit of a wild ride as we go on board with Christian Eisler. 3 wide right there, as you see it, with Leif Peterson, another driver I couldn't catch. But right there, unfortunate for Eisler, as well as looks like another driver got involved with Lee Lucas, as he's still on pit road 6 laps down.
Yeah, I'm not sure that those drivers are coming back out. We're back live now, and these are leaders yet again. The current order, which will change any second again. Griffith leads Flores, leads Modoff. Jorge's got another run, and he looks up to the high side, but he doesn't have a lot of momentum this time. Not sure if this is going to be a serious attempt. It looks like no, he is going to back out of it. They're starting to pull away slightly, or they were starting to pull away slightly from the likes of Montini. Avital then broke a little bit early as we jump back to 9th and let him back in there. This is the likes of Justin Hall in a battle with Corey Clark, who's not had a flawless race. They are just ahead of Cristobal Valenzuela, deep on the brakes down into the International Horseshoe. Corey Clark's Porsche tries to see if it can find the grip off the corner. Just not enough. The HJ Motorsports Ford of Justin Hall is going to stay in 9th for now.
Yeah, you saw coming out of the International Horseshoe, we saw Corey Clark get a little bit loose, going straight down to the inside line. That had caused him to check up to give Justin Hall back to that position. Down into the Western Horseshoe they go. Corey Clark trying to close back in as they make the run to turn 6, that transition corner, before we go up into NASCAR 1 and 2, right behind Corey Clark.
Thacker had a problem. Yeah, Thacker had a problem down in the Western Horseshoe. And he's now lost a couple of positions because of it. see if we can get the replay here. Don't think he had any contact.
Looked like he just lost it in there. Had to cut through the grass in the Western Horseshoe. Coming out of the International Horseshoe, making the run towards there, the Texan driver. Mr. Consistency not having the best of seasons so far. We've only seen him inside the top 10 only a couple of times this season. But right there, gets on the brakes. The car just breaks loose out from underneath him. And then into the grass he goes. Safely gets back out on track by taking a little escape route.
That brings him down to 14th, sadly, after that. But he's got some time in the race to try and recover. Up ahead of him, Valenzuela and the likes of Clark are now going at it. This is for a top 10. Just behind Justin Hall, and Corey going way wide through turn 1 is going to really open up the door, and it's too wide ahead of them. You can see between the HJ Motorsports cars as well. Justin Hall fighting with Michael Derby. Looks like Clark's going to come out in front of Valenzuela through the International Horseshoe, and it's going to be Justin Hall ahead of Michael Derby. That was an overtake for position, putting Hall now up to 8th.
Great run by the Florida native. Now as they make the run to the Western Horseshoe, he's been running a nice, smooth, consistent race. Now takes a little bit of a high line now. Michael Derby's going to take a peek to the inside as Corey Clark runs off over the curbing into the grass. Now here comes Cristobal Valenzuela down into turn 6. He's going to poke his nose through there as they make the run up to the transition into NASCAR 1, as it looked like Justin Hall got a little bit loose through there and now is in NASCAR 1 and 2. Let's see what Michael Derby can do.
He's going to try to come back at his teammate. He's well clear of Corey Clark, so no threat back there. He's got a good slipstream. So despite the top end of the 4, the Ferrari gains on him, and he lifts before the braking for the bus stop, settles back into 9th for now.
Yeah, this recent build that we had gave the Ferrari a little bit more of a little boost on the front straight line speed compared to the Ford. BOP adjustments have happened, and now he's going to take a look to the inside. I think Justin Hall is going to give him that position, move Tyler Dzube back up into the position.
Oh, we need to go to Carl Modoff right now because he managed to go past Flores into turn 1, and he's trying a 2-for-1, but he just doesn't quite have the grip on the outside. Regardless, phenomenal braking in that Porsche. He doesn't cover off the inside. He comes together with Flores, though. Flores manages just to nudge him out of the way and takes that second place back from him after only 1 turn.
Great driving by Jorge Flores, but Carl Modoff's not done yet. He's going to try to take the long way around to the Western Horseshoe. Now take a peek. He's got to worry about Avital and Montini and Peterson, though. They closed in right back behind these top 3 now as they make the run down to turn 6. Here we go. Avital gets late on the brake, gets right to the back bumper. Same thing with Montini as they go up into NASCAR 1 and 2. Let's see who has the better drafting capabilities as they make the run down towards the bus stop.
This is helping Griffith incredibly well. I don't think he's stretched enough out to break the draft, but he's already half a second ahead of second place Flores. I think as long as they don't fight too much, they could regain the time. By the time they hit the tri-oval, let's see what kind of exit Jorge gets out of the bus stop. It's looking pretty decent. He's got it down to 3/10 now, and so crisis averted, as the Pennsylvania driver almost found himself with a gap for a moment.
Yeah, that gap is now going to close now as they come out of NASCAR turn 4. Here they go. Carl Modoff's going to take a look to the outside right now as they make the run to the tri-oval. Jorge Flores is kind of blocked in now. Ooh, a little contact. They're going to try to go 3 wide now. Nope, Tyler, it looks like now Jorge Flores backs off. Carl Modoff's going to try to take the long way around into turn 1. Mike Griffith now loses it, goes wide. 3 wide they go. Carl Modoff, Jorge Flores get back up into the lead. Carl Modoff back up to the front. Mike Griffith now tries to go to the inside under Flores into the International Horseshoe. He moves back into second position, but Carl Modoff back into his favorite position, P1.
From 3rd to 1st in 1 corner. What awareness did Carl Modoff have to be able to thread the needle there, get by both Griffith and Flores, and Griffith is struggling. He outbreaks himself once again into the Western Horseshoe. But there's no opportunity for Jorge to try to sneak by. He has to settle back into 3rd. And a spin. Who is that? And, oh, Montini gets clobbered by the likes of Borda. Everybody managed to miss him until the last car in the train.
happened here? Did he touch the grass, or what happened to Francisco?
Well, he's a little bit ways out now. They just are now going into the kink and coming into the western horseshoe, so a little bit early right now. You see there Mike Griffith having that lockup, trying to almost got into the back bumper of Moda, but here he comes now making his way towards the transition corner of turn 6. I think he just loses it under braking right there. And then, of course, we see Leif Peterson get by, and then Borda makes contact.
And Avital had to take evasive action as well. Great job by both of them to manage that. Montini is now down to 12th because of that single error. Battle for the lead, back on once again. Griffith trying to take it back down into turn 1, but he's wide, and he opens the door for Jorge Flores to sneak into second despite locking his wheels up. Karl Modoff still the driver ahead now. If this is your first race watching, again, Karl has won 4 out of 4 races. We're in round 5, and he's trying to make it 5 for 5. But this has been the hardest he's had to fight, even including, I'd say, last round at Sebring, where Flores himself took the fight to him.
Yeah, and he is back at it again. Jorge Flores in that Ferrari is going to put a lot of pressure on Karl Modoff here today as they make the run to turn 6 up the transition. Let's see what Karl Modoff can do in his Porsche and see if he can pull away, but I don't think that's going to happen as Flores now with his Ferrari is going to close that gap into NASCAR turn 1 and they go, but they pulled away from Mike Griffith now, so we got to keep an eye on Griffith and see if he's able to catch up. I don't know if he will be now since he lost that drafting.
Let's stay with this in case something happens, but just to update you on what that single incident into turn 6 did. Avital's dropping off. He's losing the draft in 4th. Leif Peterson has definitely lost the draft. He's back in 5th and falling away. And Borda, who is now in 6th, is another 3.5 seconds behind Peterson. So it has split up our top drivers as the lead once again finds itself changing hands. This time, Flores manages to get past Modoff, but the biggest head of steam goes to Mike Griffith, who uses it to get past Modoff, climbing on the high side, past Jorge through the tri-oval. They break again. These drivers are getting a lot of time breaking offline into this corner to learn how to do it, but it's not enough to try to take the lead away for the 117. The 929 of Flores still your top spot.
Modoff had a little bit of issues, had a cut course penalty going through the bus stop, but he's going to get back on the battle again as he tries to get by Mike Griffith now. He is all over the back bumper as they make the run towards the kink. Jorge Flores, though, trying to pull the gap now, see what he can do in his Ferrari while leading into the Western Horseshoe they go. Mike Griffith's got to be careful not to outbrake himself. He's going to try to close the gap as we see Flores run a little bit wide coming off corner exit.
And all this battling has brought Avital back up to them, but in 8th place we've seen equally fierce a battle. Cristobal Valenzuela leads the likes of Rodrigo Munoz, Justin Hall just behind them in the HJ Motorsports Ford. Then it's Corey Clark and Francisco Montini bringing up the tail of this train. And these positions just as important to these drivers, especially with the team championships being just as critical. Oh, and a battle for the lead happening again. Flores and Griffith side by side, and Griffith going to take it away down into the bus stop.
But it looks like he might have cut the course. Let's keep an eye, but Griffith is going to try and take again as Jean-Marc Tremblay has now had problems on track. See if he gets back on as we get a replay.
Oh, this started ahead of him, but he was the worst victim of it. It was Joey Trungale. You're going to see, we'll have to back up a little bit more here. It's coming out of turn 6. Trungale starts to lose the car, and as his Porsche's rear end swings around, he locks up the brakes, and poor Jean-Marc, not expecting it, just absolutely T-bones him.
Unfortunate for Jean-Marc. He'd been having a great run leading in the team's championship, but his teammate Jorge Flores, though, is really trying to help him out with running in second. But Jean-Marc now has a lot of work to do as he's having that issue with a little bit of nose damage after that contact. But battle for the lead back up to the front. Mike Griffith overshoots the brake zone again. Jorge Flores is going to try to take a peek to the outside, not able to make the pass. He's going to now follow suit into the transition corner of turn 6. Karl Modoff, though, still watching behind again as they're coming into NASCAR turn 1 and 2. Jorge Flores trying to close the gap, utilizing the slipstream. Karl Modoff closing in now. Let's see who's able to be the bravest going down towards the bus stop chicane as Simon Avital has lost touch with the top three.
But he's gained some of that time back since I looked right after that first incident. So I think Avital does not have to worry quite yet. All four of them string it through the bus stop once more, nice and tidy. We're getting close to where pit stops might come into play. I wonder if any of these drivers will attempt to use a little bit of strategy to pull themselves aside from this battle. But Taylor, I've noticed that Griffith multiple times now seems to be just coming into the corner a little bit hot, almost like he's understeering a little bit on entry.
Yeah, it looks like that as well. He's been getting very loose under corner braking and almost lost the car a couple of times, especially through the Western Horseshoe as he stacks up the top three right there going into turn one. Almost made a little contact between him and Jorge Flores. Now into the International Horseshoe they go. Modoff almost gets to the back bumper of Jorge Flores as Simon Avital really now gains a lot of time and closes that gap, but it's something they might need to work on in the setup during that next pit stop. Maybe some fresh tires can maybe help the car out, or maybe a little bit of less fuel or adding some fuel to the car might help the car tighten up just a little bit. But Mike Griffith's going to have to think of something quick in order to try to keep this lead.
And as these drivers have been battling, ninth has been very, very hot. Thacker and Corey Clark have swapped positions just multiple times in just a couple corners. Montini now taking a peek on Clark. There you can see Clark driving the multicolored Porsche. The black and white Ferrari with Montini in it. Then behind them, the red and blue is Rodrigo Munoz and Justin Hall bringing up the rear on the yellow and blue Ford. Up on the oval one more time. A great exit, though, for Aaron Thacker, who finds himself pulling away from this crew and getting himself in a very safe position.
Mr. Consistency, welcome back up to the top 10 again. He's doing a great job working his way up from the back of the field now. He's got himself quite a good gap as they make the run to the bus stop chicane. He's got his eyes set on Cristobal Valenzuela running 8th in the 333 Porsche. Let's see what he's able to do as we're closing in on the first set of pit stops.
And the lead side by side yet again. But it's going to go single file when they break for the first corner. Griffith leads Flores, leads Modoff, leads Avital. Any one of these four could be your winner at the end of this race. This is Thacker that we're watching coming through, still leading ahead of Corey Clark, but Clark just not enough of that draft to reel him in. Back to the top drivers. They're going to hit the Western Horseshoe. As the sun continues to go down, the track temperature has been steadily dropping. It is now down to 75 degrees. And it is 7 o'clock p.m. out here, virtual standard time. So 7:30 in the middle of May when this race is set. Should not be too dark, but the shadows are going to get longer and longer.
Yeah, we won't see any darkness probably within this time period during this time of the month in May. Drivers are going to be probably not seeing any moonlight at all till probably 9 o'clock. So it's going to be a late afternoon, early evening race for the most part. The lights may come on late in the race, but these drivers are still going to push their way through as they go into the bus stop. Jorge Flores gets a great run through there, but now Carl Modoff gets a good exit. He's now going to maybe take a peek to the outside to try to get by Flores. Nope, Flores is going to take a little bit of defensive line now, but let's see what Modoff is going to do. Out of NASCAR 3 and 4 they go. He's going to slipstream, follow in the tire tracks of Jorge Flores and not make any pass at the moment. But look at Mike Griffith. He has the biggest lead that I've seen him all race right now. Coming to the line, he's going to have that turn one all to himself.
And as they settle it out, Rodrigo Munoz had a big problem in the bus stop chicane. He was in a side-by-side battle moments ago with Francisco Montini. I think we got a replay of it here. And I think this, Taylor, perfectly illustrates the dangers of trying to go too wide into the bus stop. Watch this. Wow, barely caught that car. Right as the likes of Justin Hall came through.
Munoz did a great job of saving that car. I mean, that could have been a whole lot worse what we've seen normally in races here at Daytona through the bus stop. I mean, that's impressive that Munoz was able to hold on to the car like that.
Francisco Montini elects to take his scheduled stop just before the halfway mark. But he's the only car we've seen come in here on this lap. So he gets going away now and exit out that tricky pit exit.
I would have to say this is the most difficult pit exit ever on the iRacing service. I mean, you have that wall and just so tight to there. Plus, you have those yellow curbings who can easily destroy the nose of the car or the under tray. So it's like, what in the world? How in the world can you get through there? But you have to in order to get back out on track.
Back up to second place. It's Griffith, Flores, Modoff. That's your order for first, second, and third. Now, Avital has dropped off slightly yet again. He could yet still reel them in, but he is risking losing touch every time he falls off the back of these three. A little bit of a look to the outside from Karl Modoff down into turn one. Don't know that that one was a serious attempt, though. This has calmed down slightly since the start of the race.
Yes, most definitely. As we see now, Karl Modoff getting right to the back bumper into the International Horseshoe right now. Coming out of there, he's going to lose a little bit of touch now. About a car length separates between him and Jorge Flores. But, I mean, it's quite impressive that they decided to calm down this late. Maybe they're starting to strategize, okay, when am I going to come down pit road? Who's going to blink first into coming between the top three? As we now look into the battle between Justin Hall and Lucio Vargas, that battle's been heating up quite well, Joe.
Vargas trails the blue and yellow car of Justin Hall. I think that overtake happened just through the tri-oval. It looks like Hall managed to use the slipstream to get to the inside, and Vargas did not fight it very hard, to be honest. So not really worth a replay, unfortunately, as they exit the Western Horseshoe. Your order now, Hall in 11th, Vargas 12th.
Go up a couple of positions up. We got Corey Clark, we got Aaron Thacker, and then we got Cristobal Valenzuela right now. This is the battle for 8th, 9th, and 10th. Corey Clark has lost touch with the likes of Thacker and Valenzuela, though, as they make down the super stretch. Let's see what Thacker does. We see Valenzuela take a little bit of a defensive line, not getting in the racing line, as now they're heading into the bus stop chicane. Valenzuela gets there, hits his mark as best that he can. Very good job between the two drivers. Thacker is going to try to use the slipstream maybe to close that gap on Lucio Vargas. And Joe, it looks like we have another driver coming down pit road.
Lucas has been in and out, but we got a change for the lead up at the front because Karl Modoff, I think he actually took 2 for 1. He got around both Griffith and Flores that time. I'm not sure how long this will last, though, as he outbreaks himself into the International Horseshoe and somehow manages to stay safe. Stay on this a little bit longer before we go to that replay, just in case Griffith is feeling frisky down the infield, and I'd say they're safe for now. Let's take a look at how this went down, because next thing I knew, I looked up and saw Modoff in second in the timing and scoring. When I went to them, he was already taking first away.
Like the slipstream goes to the outside to beat, looks like Jorge Flores, and gets into second. Then as they come down into turn one, he just gets late on the brakes and is able to hold off Mike Griffith. Great, excellent pass, a power move to the outside, put Karl Modoff back up to the lead as he has to now battle with Mike Griffith and Jorge Flores.
Yeah, they're battling right now, and into the bus stop chicane. Griffith is the braver of the two, but not the better off. And the launch goes back to Karl Modoff, who's given the inside by Griffith. So for about half a corner, Karl Modoff was your leader once again. Now the 48 moves himself back to the front. A little bit of a side draft potentially be attempted by the Pennsylvanian as he closes up to the side of the green and white Porsche. It's going to be a game of chicken down into turn one for about the umpteenth time. Who's going to be braver around the outside? Just not enough grip for Griffith, so he has to settle for second for the second time in one lap.
Yeah, right behind them, Simon Avital has been putting a lot of pressure on Jorge Flores and doing a great job. Almost had a chance to maybe pass him getting to turn one, but thought twice about it. I think he's just taking his time and not pushing the car, making sure it gets to the end before he decides when to make it go.
Thacker, you can see, taking his scheduled stop. A number of drivers have been in. Cofford, Trongale, Duchesne, LeBlond and Jacobson have all pitted. Good news for Christian Eisler fans. He did come back out, but the bad news is he's 10 laps down.
Yep, trying to help his team with the points championship as he's doing his best to do some work. As we now go to Jean-Marc Tremblay now, as he's out on track. As the feedback is now hitting up right now, but it looks like Mike Griffith is going to try to take that position of the lead now. As they look to maybe pokes his nose down in the inside, down the super stretch into the bus stop chicane they go. Let's see what he does. No, he's going to follow suit right now. Simon Avital gets a great run. He's going to close into the back bumper of Jorge Flores. Let's see what this top four does now as they make the run into NASCAR 3 and 4.
Let's watch from Avital so he can see all of the action happening up ahead of him. As we watch out his windscreen, it's getting closer and closer between Griffith and Modoff, but Griffith decides to lift before they cross the start-finish line. Meanwhile, Flores has come into the pits.
Looks like he will be the first one to blink right now, coming down pit road to take his service. Let's see if he decides to just do fuel only or to pit for tires as well.
Looks like most drivers should be able to get there on one stop. So as thirsty as this track is, I think they've left enough space in the fuel cells. Justin Hall also pitted. You can see him back there. This is Flores. We're waiting to be in and out. And Flores was stationary for 16 seconds. That's a pretty fast stop. Not bad at all for the 929.
No, not at all. Now as we see him coming off pit road, trying to make sure he navigates through there without getting any damage coming off and back out on the track. Jorge Flores still going to be sitting in the 9th position coming out of the International Horseshoe.
Our highest pitter so far, with a huge gap back to the next car who has pitted, which is Borda. This is our leader, though. Carl Modoff leading the likes of Mike Griffith through the bus stop. What was 4 is now 3. And remember, this started as 7 of them, and it has dwindled down bit by bit.
Well, now that Jorge Flores has decided to pit, let's see if these 3 drivers will respond and decide to come down pit road. Mike Griffith, it looks like he's going to maybe take an opportunity. Yes, he's going to pit, but Carl Modoff decides to stay out along with Simon Avital. So a little bit of maybe trickery right there.
It looked like he faked him out because he went down to that pit entry lane. And then as soon as he saw that Griffith was doing the same, he pulled back out. Wonder if he thinks maybe he could get a hot lap by himself, has enough fuel to be able to run and pull a gap on these drivers. Now, where is Flores? He's coming in through NASCAR 3. While Griffith has already hit his stall, being the pole sitter, he's all the way to the front, just behind the roof pace car. Griffith then for a longer stop, 18 seconds compared to the 16 that we saw for the likes of Flores. Flores is coming down to the first corner now. Griffith is coming off of it, but despite a longer stop, he is well ahead of Jorge. In fact, Peterson's as well is going to get out ahead of him. Peterson bumps himself up to 4th.
Great pit stop execution for Leif Peterson. Going to now move himself into 4th position. That's now going to give Flores now the double extra work now to get by these 2 drivers. And he's got a lot of time to make up right now. He's currently about 1.9 seconds back from Leif Peterson.
Last 2 drivers that need to pit are Modoff and Avital. Modoff did hang out in 3rd for quite a while, so he probably saved a fair bit of fuel. Avital even more so, sitting back in 4th for the vast majority of this first half of the race. So does Modoff come in this time? He looks like he's staying out. Nope, late dive into the pits for the Club West driver. Is it too late? Did he get it slowed up in time? Simon Avital also comes in a lot more calm. What was the speed of Carl Modoff as he crossed? I'm going back and checking right now. It was close enough. I think he's going to be okay.
Now the race is on for the pit crew. Mike Griffith now in NASCAR 3 and 4. So this is going to be the go time for that pit crew to try to get Carl Modoff and Simon Avital out of pit road. Here he comes, Mike Griffith out of NASCAR turn 4, now making his run towards the tri-oval. Modoff is now away, coming off pit road. Mike Griffith just across the start-finish line. He might be able to get by Simon Avital as they go into turn 1. Here they go. Mike Griffith's going to be side by side with him. This is going to be a battle at least for the second position, as Simon Avital is still going to try to hold on. He gets in front of Mike Griffith. Into the International Horseshoe they go. Mike Griffith's going to be slotted back to P3, but Simon Avital holds on to second position, Joe.
Griffith led for a lot of the race, remember. That 2-second difference in the pit stall between himself and the likes of Modoff, Avital, and Peterson and Flores, to me, says that Mike was not paying close enough attention to the fuel strategy. While Modoff seems to have taken a page from the book of Jesper Jerlicka, and now gaps the field with the pit stops with 3.7 seconds back to Avital.
Great job by Carl Modoff. He did learn a lot from Jesper Jerlicka, so like you were saying, definitely took a page from his book. And look at that gap. I mean, the biggest gap we've seen all night. And it's just wonderful. As we now go look at the battle for P9, that battle's heating up quite well, Joe.
Yep, this is Aaron Thacker leading Corey Clark as they come on to the banking. 20 minutes left to go. We watch from inside the Porsche on the Ford. They start to wind up their speed onto the backstretch. He's now got a good bit of momentum from the draft. He takes a little bit of a peek to the inside, but just a psychological move. He backs out of it and sets himself up maybe for the exit. Oh, he's awful loose off of there. And he may have even got a slowdown penalty. He's dropping back, but not a significant amount. So I think Corey Clark didn't necessarily get that slowdown. He seems to have saved the car, but certainly lost himself a little time.
Yeah, that definitely was not something Corey Clark needed to have happen right now as they go into turn 1. Aaron Thacker, though, is closing in onto the back bumper as we see Corey Clark right behind him go wide, but he's closing in back up to his rival of Valenzuela, who's he's been battling with the entire night, currently still in the P9 and P8 positions. Into the International Horseshoe they go. But looking at the lap times, Valenzuela was about 3 to 4 tenths slower compared to Aaron Thacker, so Thacker is closing back onto the back bumper of Valenzuela.
Let's check in on second place because Griffith, as well as losing touch with Carl Modoff here, has also got himself having to fight Simon Avital, the Canadian. You mentioned he came out close behind. He lifts a little early here into the bus stop, but after the pit stops, finds himself now fighting for second place after running a very patient race, trundling around at the back of that group of 4.
Yeah, it looks like Mike Griffith was able to get by Avital, moving him back into P2, but Avital's not done yet. He's going to put that pressure back on to Mike Griffith now, coming out of NASCAR 4, down through the front straightaway into the tri-oval. He's going to use that slipstream to close back up to the back bumper of Mike Griffith. He's going to take the inside line as we almost makes contact with Mike Griffith. Mike Griffith backs off now, hard onto the brakes. We see Avital go as we closes now, starts to pull away just a little bit, but Mike Griffith's not done with him yet. He's going to start putting the pressure now as they make the run to the International Horseshoe.
Oof, awful close stuff there, and at the fastest part of the circuit, breaking down into turn 1, but Avital pulled it off. Curious why Griffith decided to give him the inside so readily. I would think after all the hard fights that he had, he wouldn't really want to give that away, unless he is a little bit short-fueled and needs to save some here.
And that would be a question for Jorge Flores as well, because he was on pit road for less amount of time, and that might be a cause for concern as well if he's trying to save fuel from it.
Certainly could, but remember Flores rode behind a little bit more than Griffith, I think, so it could explain the difference. Let's give you a quick rundown because I think things have calmed down of our top 10. After the pit stops, with 17 minutes left to go, Karl Modoff is your leader. He qualified in 4th, and boy, as much as we played up the doomsaying, he's made up for it here in the race with great strategy and pace. Simon Avital's now in 2nd place and pulling some weird moves here, trying to almost block Mike Griffith, drifting up to the high side. So he is now side by side with the number 117, and instead letting him back through now. Not sure if that was miscommunication or what Simon was doing. So Mike Griffith, now your 2nd place driver, who led much of the way and took the pole, runs a little wide there through turn 1. Doesn't offer an opportunity to Avital, who qualified in 2nd, now finds himself in 3rd. Leif Peterson, the quiet driver, back in 4th. He dropped off after having to take avoidance maneuvers from an incident in turn 6, but has steadily worked his way back forward, looking at a potential podium, continuing how hard the fight goes on between Griffith and Avital. Top 5 rounded out by the driver that looked the most likely trying to take the win away, Jorge Flores. Unfortunately, with a slow pit stop, not terribly slow though we should say, is back down to 5th. What's the next 5 look like there, Taylor?
Currently in the 6th position is Fernando Borda. He's had an up and down night, but very consistently, though. He had a little bit of contact with the Montini of Francisco in turn 6, but has progressively worked his way back up into the 6th position. Right behind him is going to be the driver of Eichel Derby. He's been having a great, strong night as well, running inside the top 10. Achieving his best to try to get away from the 8th place driver of Cristobal Valenzuela. He's been having a lot of fun here tonight, racing hard in that 333 Porsche with Corey Clark in the 9th position, who's had also a great run here tonight after starting in the 13th position, working his way up. And then rounding out your top 10, Mr. Consistency had a little bit of trouble a few moments ago, had an off in the bus stop, but was able to recover. He's going to come home starting in the 10th position as he came back from the 15th position. So a good night for Mr. Consistency.
So I've been keeping an eye on this battle for 2nd place, and I use 2nd place in air quotes here. Or battle in air quotes here, I should say. Avital and Griffith have swapped back and forth on the oval portion a couple times now. I wonder if this is them working together that we're seeing, Taylor. If they're trying to find some speed to try to run down Modoff, realizing that they're losing touch with him.
That would be a very smart move for those two drivers. I mean, 2 cars can be faster than 1 car on these straightaways here at Daytona. And they're also bringing in Leif Peterson, so it could be a 3-car train. If they decide to work together, they could close that gap on Karl Modoff, and soon we can have a battle for the lead again with 4 cars again.
Well, as we ride on board with Avital, looking back, I believe this will be Avital's first podium, I want to say, if he manages this. Up at the front, we've got Porsche, Ferrari, Porsche, Porsche, Ferrari, Porsche, Ferrari, and then you have to go all the way down to 10th before we have our first Ford. With all these different makes of cars, you really have to know your stuff, and you've got to keep a good database. Well, if you're in a business where you have to keep track of the condition of this many number of vehicles or more, whether it be rental cars, limousine, construction vehicles, or many other vehicle types, you've got a lot to stay on top of. For people like you, Inspect a Ride is the fastest way to conduct your vehicle inspections and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life all from your iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. You can find out more info at inspectoride.com/iRacing, where you can even download a free trial to find out if Inspect a Ride is right for you. So check it out. Once again, that is inspectoride.com/iRacing. You can see it is now Griffith ahead of Avital as they swapped back once again, and Leif Peterson back there in 4th in the mix. I believe it was Peterson and Avital that were fighting till the end of the race at Sebring. Yes, it was indeed. They were fighting for 4th last time, so 1 position down from where they are this time around.
Joe, if you look at the track right now, the track is completely shaded over to pretty much the entire track. So those temperatures are going to start dropping even more now. So keep an eye on these speeds as the drivers are starting to consider some cooler temperatures here at Daytona.
Oh, and Corey Clark has come in for a second time. Not sure what happened. He had some damage. He had some severe damage. I'm going back to see if we could find the replay. Oh, this was in the bus stop chicane. So maybe if we go back a minute or a little bit more than that, we might be able to catch this one. This was all on his own. So a little farther back, you can see he had to limp it through the grass. Didn't really want to risk getting in anybody's way. Just maybe 20 more seconds back, we caught the tail end of it right there. Here we go. I've seen so many cars do this over the years. The exit of this bus stop chicane trickier than people expect.
I mean, you can hit the curbs very easily, and it can cause the car to get severely loose as we go ride with Corey Clark right there. A lot of damage to the rear of the car and to the nose of the car, so Corey Clark's going to have a rough night to finish out tonight.
Didn't miss any change for position as the sun comes back out once again momentarily. Griffith leads Avital, leads Peterson. That's second, third, and fourth, respectively. Avital a little wide down into the corner, though. Leif Peterson sees an opportunity. He tries to pounce and forces a two-wide situation as they come up to turn 6. This could lose them contact with Mike Griffith. Even though he's got the inside line, looks like Avital's got the better exit potentially. Peterson gets back within the slipstream, and you can see from the onboard of the Texas driver already how much time they've lost on the Club Pennsylvania car of Mike Griffith.
And then, of course, look at the time they lost as well with Carl Modoff. I mean, extraordinary amount of time they've lost. Trying to work together doesn't seem like they're going to be able to work it out now with almost 10 minutes left on the clock right now. Let's see if they're going to try to work it together again as they come out of the bus stop into NASCAR 3 and 4. Simon Avital going to close into the back bumper of Mike Griffith now as Leif Peterson is starting to lose touch with those two drivers as well.
And not good news for Leif Peterson for sure. And I wonder if they fight enough. Jorge Flores is, I think he's been gaining. He's now 2 seconds back from this group. And I'm pretty certain he was farther back earlier. So it could become a 4-car fight.
He gains a lot of time into turn 1, but then washes up wide a little bit, so he's going to lose a little bit of time now. Jorge Flores closing in. He sees those 3 cars in front of him in his sights now as all 3 of them go into the International Horseshoe. Jorge Flores looks on. Leif Peterson trying his best to get by Simon Avital, putting the pressure that he needs to try to find a way and poke his nose into that position as Mike Griffith is starting to try and pull away that gap into the Western Horseshoe they go. Avital tries to poke his nose onto the inside, not able to do anything about it as Carl Modoff, I mean, just completely amazing job he's going to do. This looks like, if he's able to keep it clean, 5 races in a row, Joe.
Oof, just astonishing. As we take a look at our leader, I did some research on the lap times. Last time by, Avital and Peterson, 42.8 and 43 flat, respectively. Compare that to Flores, a 41.8. I think Flores is a-coming.
Most definitely. Watch out, you 3. Here comes Jorge Flores. The man is on a mission. We got to be careful. We could see a last lap battle between these 4 drivers before this is all said and done.
This is Jorge here that we see coming through NASCAR 3 and 4. And look at that gap behind him, too. Jorge has very little to lose to push the car a little bit here. 16 seconds to Fernando Borda, number 227, back in 6th place. But speaking of gaps and where drivers have come from, well, how about Michael Derby? Give him a little bit of look. Started 17th. He's sitting in 7th place right now.
10 positions in this race. Congratulations there, Michael Derby. You're doing a great job here tonight. He crosses the start-finish line now, and he could go for the 6th position. He's got Borda right in his sights into turn 1. He goes. He could go to 6th position if he keeps putting the pressure down and starts to close that gap on Fernando Borda.
He's going to have to hustle, though. He's running out of time. There's only 7 minutes left on the clock now. The battle for second place certainly not gone away, but Flores, despite his fast lap last time around, was not able to repeat it. It was a 42.6 this time for him, while Peterson ran a 42.2, so Jorge actually lost time that time around.
As the battle for P10 is starting to heat up, this is between Francisco Montini, Lucio Vargas, and Justin Hall as they're coming out of the kink into the Western Horseshoe they go. Francisco doing his best to keep Vargas and Justin Hall, the hometown driver, as he's now coming out of the Western Horseshoe, trying to close the gap on Lucio Vargas. But Montini, even with that damage that he got early on in the race, is doing the best he can to hold on to that final top 10 position.
Francisco at the front of the train. This has been yet another race, I think, for Francisco to forget somewhat. As, Griffith and Avital going at it one more time. This is down into the first corner. Avital is able to get around and somehow brings the car to down to speed at turn 1. Griffith almost ran into him, it looked like, as well.
Great job by Simon Avital. As Mike Griffith gets late on the brakes, has to check up a little bit to get from not hitting the back bumper of Simon Avital. Mike Griffith now losing back into P3 and has to worry about Leif Peterson as well, because he's right there in striking distance if something happens to these two drivers. Into the Western Horseshoe they go. Simon Avital leading this train of two other drivers. As Mike Griffith gets real loose, almost makes contact. Leif Peterson has to take evasive action as they go side by side into turn 6. Leif Peterson might be able to hold on, but there could be contact. No, both drivers get out of there nice and clean. I don't know who's going to get this position. Maybe Leif, maybe Mike. I don't know, but I think Leif might be able to hold off and get the position. Move him to P3.
Inches to spare between them in turn 6, but it's not done yet. Look at the draft helping Griffith back up around the outside. They're going to try it one more time, going side by side into the corner, but I would not advise it here. And I tell you what, Peterson knows it. He backed out of that one early into the bus stop and let Griffith have it. But some incredible bravery from Leif, I must admit, because when Griffith had that bobble out of the Western Horseshoe, Taylor, it looked like, I don't think I saw Peterson lift at all. He just stayed with it and tried to find an opening.
Oh no, he was completely going to try to find an opening, like he's finding an opening right now. He's going to go to the outside of Mike Griffith now as they come into the tri-oval across the start-finish line. I believe he might have gotten him by less than an inch as they go into turn 1 side by side. Oh, Peterson has to go wide. This gives the position back to Mike Griffith as they come out of turn 1. Got a little bit of lap traffic right in front of them as they're closing in. Simon Avital going into the International Horseshoe.
Leif Peterson really wants this podium and is working hard on Mike Griffith. That one simple bobble has cost them so much because Simon Avital is pulling away. It is now 1.3 seconds. He might have actually broke the draft by now. They've got lap traffic to deal with. That's Jeff Jacobson you see going wide to let them through. And all this dilly-dallying has done is Jorge Flores is now less than a second back from Leif Peterson.
And closing as they come out of turn 6 up into NASCAR turn 1. Let's see what Jorge Flores is able to do now. Into NASCAR turn 1 and turn 2. Leif Peterson closing onto the gap right now to the back bumper of Mike Griffith. Out of NASCAR 2 down the Daytona super stretch. Let's see if Leif's going to take a peek to the inside as they make the run to the bus stop chicane. He's going to not be able to do anything, not close enough for anything. Going to now follow suit right now as Jorge Flores goes late onto the braking to try to close the gap to Leif Peterson. And it looks like both him and Mike Griffith might have cut the course. Let's see if they have to slow down a little bit. I think Leif Peterson might have had a cut course penalty.
I would have thought so too, but it doesn't look like he's slowing down. Whatever the case, Jorge Flores is now solidly on the back of that 913. And we are coming down to the final laps. 3 minutes left to go. Drivers have got to start making something stick because there's only 2 to go.
Flores gets right to the back bumper, gets a good entry into turn 1. Here he goes. He's going to try to take a peek on Leif Peterson. Into the International Horseshoe they go. We have a 4-car battle for the second position. It is Avital currently in second in the Ferrari, Mike Peterson in the Porsche, followed by Leif Peterson in the second Porsche, and then Jorge Flores in the Ferrari in the fifth position. Right now, here they go. Jorge Flores going to try to take the long way around, but then goes to the inside a little bit. Griffith gets a little bit loose coming again out of the Western Horseshoe, Joe.
This one not quite as bad as the last time he made an error there. And honestly, credit to Griffith because he cut that gap down to Avital pretty quickly. It is now 7/10 between them, but he's running out of opportunities because we're going to get the white flag this time by Karl Modoff. Is just coming through the bus stop now. He's extended his gap to second place to 7 seconds.
Oh, I think Mike might have cut the course that time. He really went over the grass completely. Yes, he's taking the high line. All that hard work he had is now going to be gone up in smoke, losing 2 positions in one corner right now. But here comes Flores. He's going to take a peek to the outside on Leif Peterson. Let's see what he does.
He's got the inside as Peterson elects to run a little bit in the middle of the track, not covering off the bottom. Through the tri-oval, late on the brakes for both of them. Peterson just can't quite keep the likes of Flores back. In 1 lap, 2 positions gained for the number 929, and he's back on the podium. But he's going to have to work hard to hold on to this. Look at how already Leif Peterson is on the attack.
On board with Leif Peterson. You can see that Ferrari right in front of them. Leif Peterson knows it is go time. 1 lap to go. He is on full attack mode into the Western Horseshoe. Late onto the braking he goes as they make the apex corner coming off the Western Horseshoe. Trying to keep a tight line coming off so that way he doesn't lose it like he did with Griffith in front of him. Into turn 6 they go.
This is going to be one of those critical exits. Getting the run onto the banking. Making sure that you can use the draft, momentum, the speed to try to gain on your opponent for the easy pass. But it doesn't look like any of these 3 are close enough for that. It's going to have to take a monster run out of the bus stop chicane. I'm keeping half an eye on Modoff, so we'll switch to him when he gets towards the line. Let's see what happens with these 3. Oh, and I think it's Flores. Oh, slow down for Avital on the final lap. A critical mistake, but we've got to go to Modoff. 5 for 5 now. How many times are we going to say this? But for now, the streak continues as Karl Modoff has proved impenetrable.
P2.
Second place to Flores after all that. What a comeback.
And then Leif Peterson was able to just nudge right by Simon Avital for the 3rd position. Great racing here, Joe. I mean, that was just quite intense for watching here at Daytona. Let's do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Griffith ruined his slowdown as well. Winds up in 5th after starting on the pole. How about Borda coming across with 6th place? And Derby does indeed keep that 7th after starting all the way down in 17th position. Cars now streaming across the line. Aaron Thacker, hey, he's got himself a top 10 this time. Vargas is going to lead Galaz home. Not many battles out left on track. Ooh, battle side by side. This is for 13th position. Cofford going to beat Jean-Marc Tremblay home for that spot. Takeshi Kita climbs up at least a few, 23 to 16. Last of our cars from the lead lap come across. We're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. We just watched round 5 in the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday series. Hopefully the last time you'll see Daytona for a bit, at least on the road course. Get ready for the oval for a while with the 500 coming. Carl Modoff, you can see on your screen yet again, winning another one. He has now won more than half the races in this season. The question is, can anybody manage to stop him? It's going to be very difficult from here. Jorge Flores does get second place to try to minimize the damage, but he's going to have to start taking wins if he wants an opportunity. Lee Peterson gets a podium out there today, running from 5th. Simon Avital. At some point, I feel like a win's got to be on the card for Simon because he started on the front row, but he finishes in 4th. Mike Griffith will take P5 after putting it on pole. A late race slowdown penalty cost him a better spot. 6th place goes to Fernando Borda. Michael Derby, 7th place for him, being a hard charger of the race for me. And then Cristobal Valenzuela takes 8th, followed by Aaron Thacker finishing 9th. Lucio Vargas from 21st to 10th out there in the number 71 car. Let's go to the next 10 there, Taylor.
Finishing in 11th position will be Hugo Galaz, followed by Rodrigo Munoz in the 12th position. Alexander Carford will come home in 13th position over 14th position driver Jean-Marc Tremblay. Takeshi Kita comes home in 15th, followed by Francisco Montini in the 16th position. Joey Trungale will come home in 17th position, followed by Danny Duchesne in 18th. James LeBlanc will come home in 19th position, and Jeff Jacobson will come home in 20th.
21st goes to Justin Hall, with Corey Clark slipping down to 22nd after a late race accident. He was our first DNF. Lee Lucas behind him in 23rd. Christian Eisler, as we mentioned, did get back out on track, but he was only able to salvage 24th because of all the laps he led. Jerome Berton, 25th, another one of those drivers who had early problems, did get back out there as well. Tyler DeZube finishes 26th. Luis Morga was a did not start today out of our 27 cars. We've got Leif Peterson with us, getting a podium this time, doing a little bit better than what we saw out at Sebring. Leif, it looked like you were in the train for most of the start for the first half of the race and were in contention. And then suddenly the incident in turn 6. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I guess Francisco maybe got a little loose. And I saw him go inside, and I tried to go wide. And somehow I still got a 4X, but I don't think I took any damage. I didn't feel anything. So, yeah, I lost touch, but I was able to match pace, so I didn't lose too much traffic. And in the pits, I got lucky and was able to close up on Griffith, I think, and catch the draft again. So I was back in it.
Yeah, we were impressed with you regaining the ground on them. So once you found yourself starting to catch up to them, mentally, how do you prepare for that? What do you say to yourself about how you take the draft and try to get a top spot away?
Well, as long as I'm with the lead pack or the pack I'm at pace with, I don't battle until the last 2 or 3 laps. So I saw Jorge coming up behind us. We had about 3.5 seconds, and Simon and Mike were battling, and I knew Jorge was going to take advantage of that and close up on us. But, it's their race, so they can race it how they want. I was hoping we could get away from him because I knew he was faster than us, most likely. Also, I just noticed a note from Christian. I didn't even know he had a spin in turn 1 that I got squeezed. Francisco shot up the inside, so I had to go wide, and he turned down as if I was turning in. So I didn't even realize he had taken a spin. So I apologize for that, for my part of it anyway.
I was just about to mention the elephant in the room on that one. It seemed he was a little bit displeased. Taking a look at that replay, it does look like the likes of Montini did duck inside you. So
yeah, I was not expecting that on the first lap, turn 1. It's a bit of a cliche. So he wanted it, so I was going to give it to him. I wasn't going to fight with anybody. I wasn't going to fight with Christian either. I just wanted to stay with the lead pack, whoever it was, and just try to run a clean race.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on a podium. It seems like you keep getting better and better, and look to see you next week when we go out to Road Atlanta.
Hey, thanks very much. I look forward to that. That's one of my favorite tracks. And again, apologies to Christian. It was not intentional. Thanks, guys.
Good to see a gracious driver there, and Leif Peterson apologizing for an incident that obviously put Christian Eisler in a bad spot here in the championship. But we've got one more to talk to. This is the driver behind Leif, Simon Avital, who finished fourth, is talking to Taylor.
Yes, indeed. Simon, we're here with you after a nice top 5 finish, but a little heartbreak after cutting the course on the last lap. Tell us about your race here today at Daytona.
Heartbroken, to put it mildly. That was some white flag nerves there, and cut the course, just trying to get a good exit. Because I knew that Leif and George Jorge was pretty close there, so wanted to maximize that exit, cut it, and then I was just concerned about crossing the finish line with a black flag. I was like, I've never been in this situation before, and I don't know if that's going to be like a disqualification or something. So I better just play it safe and give up the positions and go for the points in the long game.
Yeah, and that seemed like to be a smart move to help you out. You still managed to get that top 5 finish, beating out Mike Griffith. But I tell you what, you were all over the place, follow the leader with the top 3 early part of the race. What was that like watching those 3 battle out here today?
Best seat in the house, and it provided some great fuel saving opportunities. Was really letting off the gas early going to the bus stop and into turn 1, which is why I think Carl was probably doing something similar, and we both seemed to go out a lap longer than everybody else. Unfortunately, I gave up that advantage by braking a little too late again, just trying to get aggressive, and had to back up into the pit. Went a little bit too far forward, so gave up a bit of that advantage. But then Mike and I, being teammates, we obviously traded drafts and leapfrog a lot, hoping we could catch up to Carl. But he put on the boosters, he turned on alien mode, and just disappeared off into the distance. And then it was just about containing the bleeding, I guess, against Leif, who did a fantastic job catching up to us and getting there. So yeah, I mean, just tremendous fun. That was one of the best races I've had in a very long time.
Yes, indeed, and it was quite fun to watch. Now, next week, we're heading off to Road Atlanta. Tell me, how are you looking forward to that track to prepare yourself for that one?
Road Atlanta was the first track I ever drove on iRacing about a year ago. So it's close to my heart. That being said, I'm not the best at that track for one reason or another. I tend to struggle at it. So yeah, I'll be trying to put in as much practice as I can. But it's a tough one. After those S's, there's always carnage, I find. So a lot of it is going to be about keeping the car clean and just trying to put in the some decent race pace.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you there at Road Atlanta. Again, congratulations on your 4th place finish here today.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything you do. And big shout out to my team, Ether Sim Sport. Really, really great guys. Been having a ton of fun with them. So big shout out to those guys. Thanks for all the help.
And that was Simon Avital, 4th place finisher here today.
That's going to close up our interviews as well. So it'll close up our broadcast. And before we go, we have a few people to thank and to mention. First one we want to mention is if you're in a business where you have to keep track of the condition of a number of vehicles, whether it be rental cars, limousines, construction vehicles, or many other vehicle types, you've got a lot to stay on top of. For people like you, Inspect a Ride is the fastest way to conduct your vehicle inspections and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life, all from your iPhone, iPad, Android phone, or tablet. You can find out more at inspectoride.com/iRacing, where you can even download a free trial to find out if Inspector Ride is right for you. So check it out. Once again, that's inspectoride.com/iRacing. This season, once again, also brought to you by SIMSA. The Simulation Motorsports Association is a sim racing platform created by experienced racers. Established in 2015, the association is bringing together organizations and communities to further promote sim racing globally. Concentrating on all sims worldwide, they offer a focused opportunity for sim racers to compete with each other, and they also provide consultancy services to this growing esports world. SIMSA offers solutions for for racing simulator requirements, custom-built simulator parts, complete customization, and upgrading of existing simulators. You can find them at simsa.net. I want to give a big thank you to Precision Racing League for bringing us back for another season of coverage here, and also to iRacing for bringing us onto the iRacing Esports Network. They, of course, have all kinds of World Championship series as well as many of their private leagues, so make sure and subscribe so that you don't miss a moment. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race here in this series at Road Atlanta. That'll be Tuesday, February 5th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're starting to get to the last round, so you want to watch and see how everything unfolds. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.